Today is June the 29th. Is it worth it all? Let's find out together as we read Psalm 73 and Proverbs 18. In reading through the Bible in a year, on Wednesdays, we look at Psalms and Proverbs. So today, please read Psalm 73 and Proverbs 18. Now, if you'll notice, Psalm 73 begins as Book 3, and the opening psalm of Book 3 answers a question that you actually may have asked before. I certainly have. It's the question, is it worth it all? Psalm 73 begins, "Truly God is good to Israel, to those whose hearts are pure. But as for me, I lost my footing. My feet were slipping. I was almost gone, for I envied the proud when I saw them prosper despite their wickedness." And in the first 8 verses of Psalm 73, David, or the psalmist here, the Psalm of Asaph, asks the question, why do the good prosper when I struggle so much? I've asked that question. I've struggled with that. The psalmist also does. The first 12 verses of this psalm actually deal with the psalmist looking at the wicked and seeing that many of the wicked prosper. But the answer comes starting in verse 13. In verse 13, the psalmist says that I keep my heart pure for nothing. And he continues in his despairing thoughts. But by verse 17, he has an answer. Then I went into your sanctuary, O God, and I finally understood the destiny of the wicked. Truly, you put them on a slippery path and send them sliding over the cliff of destruction. The answer to this question has to do with the long-term impact of doing wickedness. David says in verse 21, I realized that my heart was bitter. I was all torn up inside. The long-term destiny of the wicked is they will suffer for their wickedness. But in the meantime, we need to guard our heart. We can be all torn up inside by looking at the wicked and questioning if it's worthwhile. Later in verse 23, I still belong to you. You hold my right hand. God comes to us and he protects us. The long-term destiny of the wicked is evil. We may never attain the pleasantness that we think the evil have. Still, God is on our side. Now, in Proverbs chapter 18, we see something very similar. Solomon here in the book of Proverbs essentially asks the same question. Look at Proverbs 18:11. The rich think of their wealth as a strong defense. They imagine it to be a high wall of safety. That's essentially what Asaph was questioning. Why do the evil seem to prosper from their evils? But in reality, verse 10 is true. The name of the Lord is a strong defense. The godly run to him and are safe. These two verses are put right by each other. In verse 11, the riches trust in their riches. The evil trust in their riches. But in verse 10, we find refuge in God. In verse 3, doing wrong leads to disgrace. Scandalous behavior brings contempt. Maybe not right away, but it's coming. Like, follow, and subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you use to listen to it. Email your questions to us at questions@becomehope.com. Tomorrow, we'll begin to look at the book of Acts and ask, why did the 11 disciples pick another